What if the very fabric of reality is laced with contradictions? Not the kind we simply overlook, but paradoxes so profound they leave the mind suspended, teetering on the edge of comprehension. Philosophy, at its deepest level, doesn't always offer answers. Sometimes it hands us riddles, beautiful, impossible knots that reveal how little we actually understand. Today, we enter that labyrinth. We'll journey through some of the most mind-bending paradoxes ever conceived, each one a mirror, reflecting not just the world, but the limits of our own thought. Let's begin with a classic, the ship of Theseus. Imagine a ship, old and weathered. Plank by plank, it's restored. Each wooden part is replaced until no original piece remains. Now ask yourself, is it still the same ship? Most say yes. After all, the identity of the ship seems to persist through time. But now, suppose someone gathers the discarded planks and reconstructs them into a ship of their own. Which one, then, is the real ship of Theseus? One is a complete replica, made of the original parts. The other has the shape and function, but none of the material it began with. This paradox strikes at the heart of identity. Is something defined by its continuity or by its substance? And what does that say about us? If our cells replace themselves every few years, are we still the same person we were a decade ago? Or are we merely a story carried by memory, a ship sailing on the illusion of permanence? Now let's step into time itself with the infamous grandfather paradox. Suppose you build a time machine. You travel to the past and, intentionally or not, prevent your grandfather from meeting your grandmother. In doing so, you erase the very conditions of your own birth. But here's the problem. If you were never born, how could you have traveled back in time in the first place? This paradox, popularized through science fiction, opens a chasm in our understanding of causality. It questions the linear nature of time we take for granted. If cause and effect loop back on themselves, what becomes of logic? Is time a river flowing forward, or a sea, still and endless, where past, present, and future coexist? Physicists and philosophers alike have wrestled with this. Some suggest parallel timelines. Others claim the paradox itself prevents such contradictions from occurring, an unseen hand correcting the sequence. But maybe the real discomfort lies in what it reveals, that our grasp on time is more emotional than rational, and that memory, not chronology, might be the true architect of experience. Now consider Zeno's paradox, the Achilles and the tortoise. Achilles, the swift warrior, gives a tortoise a head start in a race. Logically, he should overtake it easily. But Zeno argues otherwise. To catch the tortoise, Achilles must first reach the point where the tortoise began. By then, the tortoise has moved a bit farther. He must now reach that point, and again, the tortoise has advanced. This continues infinitely, so Achilles never catches the tortoise. It's absurd, yet mathematically elegant. Zeno uses infinite division to show that motion itself is paradoxical. But how can this be when we witness people overtaking each other every day? Zeno's trick is that he splits reality into infinitely many pieces, suggesting that to understand motion, we must traverse an infinite number of steps. But if infinity can exist in finite space or time, What does that mean for the structure of reality? Modern calculus resolves the paradox by summing infinite series to a finite limit. Yet Zeno's challenge still lingers. Are space and time truly continuous? Or is there a smallest unit of distance, a quantum of motion, beyond which division is meaningless? If there is, if the world is pixelated at its core, then our entire notion of movement, smoothness, and change must be reimagined. Let's now peer into the unsettling lens of the liar paradox. A man declares, "I am lying." If he's lying, then the statement is true, which means he's not lying. But if he's telling the truth, then he is lying. This loop destabilizes language itself. It reveals that meaning can collapse under its own weight. The liar paradox isn't just a linguistic curiosity. It's a dagger pointed at the foundations of logic. It inspired deep crises in mathematics and set the stage for thinkers like Kurt Gödel to prove that within any consistent system, there are truths that cannot be proven. So what happens when our very tools of thought, words, logic, statements, become unreliable? If reality is built on language and language contains cracks, are we forever trapped inside an illusion, stitched together by contradictions? Now let's end with the most intimate paradox of all, the paradox of the self. Try to define who you are. You'll reach for names, memories, personality traits. But are you your past? That's only memory. Are you your body? It changes. Are you your thoughts? They come and go. Every attempt to pin down the self dissolves in your hands, like trying to hold fog. Buddhist philosophy calls this anatta, the doctrine of no self, that the self is not a fixed entity, but a process, a flame dancing on the wick of consciousness. Yet we live our lives as if the I is solid. We chase identity, defend it, polish it. What if that I is the greatest illusion of all? A story we tell ourselves to make the world less terrifying. But the cost of this comfort is ignorance. So here we are, adrift in paradox. Ships without anchors, time without sequence, selves without essence. Yet maybe paradoxes aren't problems to be solved, but invitations. They invite us to look deeper, to question the frame, to realize that behind every contradiction is a doorway to a more expansive truth. Philosophy doesn't always resolve the mystery. Sometimes it hands us the candle and says, "Walk into the dark. Let the unknown remake you."
If this made you pause, if you're drawn to deeper truths and quiet strength, then you're in the right place. Like, subscribe, and keep exploring with us. See you in the next one.